Evening folks, Vinci Shooter here. After the club competition that I attended at the weekend, a few of people have got in contact with me and asked about the different types of loading that you can start with within the dynamic and IPSC style of shooting. So I thought I'd go over them as a bit of a tutorial on basically how you can start your course of fire effectively and save yourself time. So to start with, I just wanted to go over, this is my Hayes Custom Benelli M2 with a Trijicon SRO, in case anybody's asking. And obviously this has been cleared. I am not using any live rounds. There's nothing around me. I mean, literally we're in a desert of no ammo. These are basically for practice. When you come to the line, you'll carry your firearm muzzle up or muzzle down. In the UK, if you do NRA Shotgun League, you'll carry your firearm muzzle down. If you do IPSC or UK PSA shooting, you'll always carry your gun muzzle up. Muzzle up, for anyone who's completely thick, is the business end of the gun. What you'll also carry in there is obviously a breech flag to demonstrate that the chamber is clear, that there's no ammunition on or around it, nothing in any extra loaders, and obviously the safety will be on, so this will actually show anybody visually that the bolt is held back, the chamber is clear, and obviously there is no ammunition in the magazine tube or anything in the breech. When you come to the line for an option 1 load, option 1 basically means that the firearm is completely loaded and obviously the safety must be on and engaged before obviously the audible signal for you to start that course of fire. What you will do is you will come to the line and bring your firearm safely pointing in the direction of downrange. Remove your flag. As you can see, that is a general IPSC flag, and you will secure it. You take a couple of rounds, and obviously I've only got 4 here because I don't need to show you lots of the different types of capacities to your division, but I just wanted to demonstrate how obviously you'd load it. With a Benelli M2 for instance, you press the first one and it obviously chambers it. You would then load 2 in the magazine tube, or 9, whatever your division capacity is. And as you can see here, the safety is on. You will start in either one of 2 positions: gaming, which will be both hands on and obviously the butt touching your hip, or trail, where you'll hold it at the point of balance with both arms straight. Now I am in trail option 1. This is technically termed as a gamey position, ready with my finger poised on the safety in butt touching hip. When the audible signal goes off, as you can see with my right index finger, I press on the safety, I bring the firearm up, bang, I engage the targets. The other option of starting with a firearm is option 2. Now with option 2, you will make sure your safety is on. Your safety should always be on when the firearm is obviously cleared. Remove your safety flag and secure it. Option 2 has and will always be bolt forward, and you notice I didn't put any ammunition in the chamber, so the chamber is now empty. But this will then allow me to take a couple of rounds out to my division capacity. So now that obviously I've loaded the firearm to condition 2, which is empty chamber and full magazine loaded to my division capacity, this is where knowing how to work option 2 pays benefits to the shooter. Now, bypasses, as I call them, every firearm has a bypass, every firearm has a safety. A bypass in my language, or a sear release catch, means that you can work the action and obviously expel all the shotgun shells without having to obviously actuate the trigger. The bypass, because obviously it bypasses the trigger, allows you to, with a Benelli for instance, do that, which is now released a shotgun shell onto the shell lifter. The second thing you do is disengage the safety. Now, in IPSC and NRA, you are allowed to have the safety off because the chamber is empty. However, 9 times out of 10, when a firearm is in this state, it will mean that it has been placed into a tyre or a table or something. You will then obviously assume the position, whatever that position may be. It could be kneeling down, hands on head. The main idea is that you are close to the firearm and it is in a safe state with a round loaded on the lifter and your safety disengaged, so it is now live. And the reason why you do that, and the reason why people were falling foul, is what they were doing is they were not pressing the bypass and they're not loading one onto the shell lifter. The idea being is you will, when the audible signal goes off, reach down, obtain the firearm securely and chamber around into the firearm. This firearm now, technically speaking, is live. That is option 2. Option 2 is empty chamber, full magazine, but you must remember to actuate the bypass to release a shell onto the shell lifter and disengage the safety. That, by not doing this and popping one onto the lifter and by not putting the safety on, causes you to obviously snatch at the gun, snatch on it, and obviously get a bit in the tiz-was when you're trying to get obviously on with your course of fire. So you must remember that. That is option 2. Okay folks, the last one is option 3. Now option 3 will mean that there is no ammunition on or around the firearm and it will be left in a state of emptiness, and you have to successfully engage the targets, but obviously you need to initially load the firearm. With the type of shooting that we do, which is IPSC, their rules and regulations, and again I could be corrected on this, mean you can actually have the bolt back or forward. If you shoot NRA shotgun, they sometimes dictate that you have to have the bolt forward. So I will actually train for both different states. So in effect, I've got an option 3, bolt forward, and an option 3, bolt back. Both situations are very similar, but I'll just go through the basic principles. So again, you're starting with a firearm that is completely empty, has been cleared, and has a safety flag in it. You come to the line, you pull your flag and secure it. Now, you can start with it as you see it here, with the bolt back and the ejection window completely empty. Always disengage the safety, because at the moment this is nothing more than a club. It has no ammunition in it, so it's not dangerous at all. You can, as I say, depending on the type of shooting you do, you can start with bolt forward or bolt back. I practice for both. First of all, I'm going to demonstrate the option 3 bolt forward. Now, the reason I would do this particular style of option 3 is if I was placing the gun down. So again, disengage the safety and obviously drop the bolt on an empty chamber. Chamber is empty, magazine tube is empty, lifter is nice and loose. So what I would do is I will actually place the firearm down, and again you'll see it on one of the courses of fire I did, I placed it on the tyre. What I do is I actually turn the gun upside down and I weak hand load. I will then put the rounds into the gun. Now, as I've just finished putting here, my thumb is now guided the shell into the magazine tube. As I'm coming back, I will release the bypass to pop one onto the shell lifter, and with my index finger, I have now just chambered a round into the gun upside down. The reason I train like this is because there is no way I ever use my left hand to fire the gun, because I'm right-handed. Obviously, if you're a southpaw or left-handed, you would obviously be using your right hand to load. Then, confidently, I place the gun back up into my shoulder. The safety has already been disengaged. This gun is safety off, round chambered, and is ready to fire. That is option 3, bolt forward. Let me do. So, option 3, bolt forward. If I'm standing up, or if I'm in the open, or if I'm not in a constricted aperture. I come to the line, face down range, I secure my safety flag, I drop the bolt, I disengage the safety, and I check that my shell lifter is loose. What I'll do then is assume the position, either gamey or in trail. If and when the audible signal goes off, I bring the gun up onto my shoulder safely, and I come down with my right hand and I load my load, or the quantity that I need to my division, into the magazine tube. As I come back with my finger, the outside of my index finger, again, I've now popped around and away from the trigger very safely. I've now released the round from the magazine tube and chambered it. Come off the shoulder to engage the target. My firearm is now live and I'm ready to shoot. Right, okay folks, I'm going to try this again, but I'm demonstrating this with my airsoft shotgun, but the principle is still the same, and I don't own a pump. This is the nearest I've got to a pump for quad loading practice whenever I can. The principle's still the same. You pull the flag out, you come down and face down range safely. You load a round into the chamber, and then you load rounds to your division capacity. And that is option 1. Right, option 2 of the pump action. Very simple. Flag out, secure it. Disengage the safety so the gun's live. Rack forward so the bolt is now chambered. Your breech is now empty. You can then come over, and whether it's strong hand load or weak hand load, you basically just load your division capacity and you're ready to assume the position. Now, what I used to do when I owned a pump, and a lot of people have asked me, what would I do if I owned a pump? First of all, I'd sell it and buy a semi-auto. But what if you have got a pump and you want to keep it, you have the chamber empty and the safety off. What I used to do, come straight up into the shooting position, pull the trigger because it's an empty chamber, and rack. And obviously then I'm chambered around, I'm ready to engage all the targets. That is option 2 with the pump action. Right guys, the last one, which is the simplest of all of them, is obviously option 3 with the pump action. Some of the guys that have some of the platforms like a Supernova, you can almost put it like to half cock or whatever like that. For an old style shotgun like a Remington 870 chassis or a Mossberg 500, that doesn't really pay dividends. So this is how I would advise that you do it, just as a starting point to get yourself up to speed. First of all, secure your safety flag. Second of all, some people put their guns down for option 3 for bolt back, for example, and they come in and they load a round. I don't feel, again, that pays you any dividends. You're actually better off disengaging the safety, chambering the just put the bolts into battery, so you're now free to load. You can then place the gun down, and if you place the gun down, you can pick it up, bring it over, and you want to get as many rounds as you can into the magazine tube via your division capacity. You come up, again, dry fire, and obviously then chamber, and you are now ready to engage the targets. If you are, however, adamant that you want to have to chamber a round before you start, this is how I do it, or how I've seen other people do it. They, generally speaking, pick the gun up, they only dual load for this instance, they drop the white cartridge in first, the second the lower, and they come over and they slide forward. Then they bring the gun over and they obviously chamber the second round into the magazine tube. Obviously then they keep going to reach division capacity. Unless you've got that really pinned down, I find that takes far too long.